Good afternoon, good morning, everybody who is tuning in. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 37. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez. I start every episode the same, so I will start this one the same. The premise of Run It Back is basically we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we talk about things that worked, things that didn't work, what we would do differently, what we would keep the same. We talk about preparation, all that fun stuff that goes into coaching. So today we're taking a look at Southeast Missouri, so SEMO versus Tennessee State. This is a game that's from a little while ago. It's from February 23rd, 2017. So we're going back almost 4 years now. But there is a very special reason, in my opinion, why we were doing that. As I've mentioned several times, we're very fortunate for most of these episodes to have somebody jump on who is involved with the particular game. So today, we have somebody that I'm happy to call a friend and a mentor, of course. The CEO of Rising Coaches, Adam Gordon, will be joining us today. Adam was a coach with SEMO at the time. He was actually the associate, uh, uh, the associate head coach, if I'm not mistaken there. And then let's see if I can do Adam a little bit of justice with the wind up here. Adam was the associate at SEMO for 4 years. He was a Dobo at Mississippi State for 3 years. He was a Dobo at North Colorado for a year. He was a GA at Clemson for 3 years. He was an assistant coach at the College of Central Florida for 2 years, and he was a student assistant at Tampa for 4. So Adam, super happy to have you here in my typical way of using strange adjectives. I'm really happy to be able to sit down with you. I'm excited to go through this. It's been a real blessing, and I don't know if you know, but most of these episodes I've managed to give Rising Coaches a big shout out because obviously creatively this spawned from your website and from the contacts that I met, and then many of the coaches that jump on, if not most of the coaches that jump on, have been people that through one way or another are interlinked with my association with Rising Coaches. And before I turn it over to you and say welcome, just another big thank you. Just going back almost 2 years at this point, I met you in Charlotte at one of your live events. So any coach who's listening, tuning in later, highly recommend attending one of Rising Coaches type events, joining their website, jumping in on that coaching tree. Sir, it's a real pleasure to have you. Welcome, Adam.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Menelik. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Antonius Cleveland, what's up, man? What's up, AC?
There he is.
AC plays in the game. Yeah, he's in the game. So I'm going to be deferring all the questions to him because he's got better insight than I do.
I love it. I'm here trying to pick on you, see what your coaching acumen is like. And you bring NBA guys along. Antonius, welcome to Run It Back. It's a real pleasure to have you on. For anybody who doesn't know, Antonius did play in this game that we're talking about, which he was a player at SEMO, and then obviously has gone on to an NBA career in both the G League and professionally with the Atlanta Hawks, the Dallas Mavericks, the Texas Legends, Santa Cruz Warriors. So it's a real pleasure to have you here as well, sir. Welcome.
Thank you for having
me. Appreciate.
AC, sorry to put you on the spot. You didn't know you were going to get called on.
Hey, time out. Is this the TSU game with Jacksonville State?
The TSU game.
That's what I thought. Okay,
I wasn't going to put the Jacksonville. I wasn't going to put a lot. If I had known you were going to be on the Zoom, though, I would have picked a game like the Murray State game or something where you went off. This wasn't one of your better ones, but
yeah, it was a good win though.
It was a big win. Yeah, you were in foul trouble the whole first half.
Yeah, I stayed hacking.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the process a little bit leading into this game. So, I typically like to talk about the scouting process, the preparation process that goes in. Having both of you guys here, it'd be great to hear a little bit of the vantage point of both the coach and a player going into it. So for any of the listeners or viewers, I'll give you a little bit of a background. They did play this team once earlier in the season, and they lost by 3. That was in January. And then they had played a game 4 days prior to, it was a loss to Austin. I never say this properly. Is it Austin P or Austin PA?
Yep. No,
Austin P.
Austin P. So from the coaching standpoint, when did you start the scout? What goes into the scout? What kinds of things are you looking at? From the player's standpoint, what's getting delivered to you, and mentally, what are you doing to work up for the game? Because this is a big one. This is the OVC tournament.
Yeah, so because of the OVC tournament, like you don't really know who you're going to play until like the seeds are final. So you usually have like a 4 or 5 day window in between. So I'm sure as soon as the seeds came out, I started working on it. I usually watch like 5 previous games, but I really try not to like overload the guys with like too much info. The head coach Rick Ray is a big like preparation guy, scouting report guy. So he'll start like implementing what we want to do like 3 days before the actual game, and each day we get closer to the game, the more detailed we'll get. And he's a big walkthrough guy, so we probably walk through. AC probably remembers those. We probably walk through like 4 or 5 times before the actual game, and they're like long, intense walkthroughs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what goes into that kind of stuff? So like, are you giving a paper copy? What's on the paper copy? If not, in the walkthroughs, is it you're just doing more of the stuff that you guys want to do, or are you doing a lot of their sets? Like, how's the focus? What was happening there?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate, man. Coach Ray gave me a lot of freedom, and he didn't micromanage. He didn't really ask for like all their plays written out or anything like that. Like he watched the film on his own, I watched it on my own, and then we'd meet together and we'd go over like some sets. But never like did I have to diagram things out for him or anything like that. So in terms of what we were giving the players, we were giving them like personnel and keys to the game.
Right.
And we were like what we were doing the walkthroughs was all their stuff and how we were going to guard it. And we really like, I think Coach Ray is like one of the best at this. Like, and I learned this from him for sure, but just try to get a feel for like the main things they do and not go over every single set. And there were a lot of times like, they'd have a set that I'd be worried about, but they would run it like twice a game. And, we were like, we're not going to take our guys through that. That's too much info. Like that's a max of 6 points.
Right.
I know that's a big deal, but like, let's focus on like the main concepts and their bread and butter and then their main change up. I don't know, AC, it probably felt like we were throwing tons of stuff at you guys.
Nah, not really. It just was I think that was my first year with Coach Ray. Was the first time that we would actually come and do a walkthrough the night before the game. Like we, I never had did that in college, so it just was. Well, I got used to coming back to the gym about like 8 o'clock, coach, like before the game, 8 o'clock at night or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't. It's hard. I think as a coach, it's hard. Just you got to know, like it's hard to keep college guys locked in on a Friday night at 8 when they play the next day, kind of. So I think that you all did a good job of that. And we wouldn't be in there too long either, but it just was a quick lock in for like an hour at most, and just keying on what the other team do for the most part. But
So
I think it was good.
I think this is an excellent opportunity to ask a player such as yourself, what do you think translated well preparation process from college to, like, I mean, you've had a fairly extensive professional career at this point, still in it. And, you mentioned this was sort of like your first time going through those kinds of things.
Right.
What did the coaches do well? What stuck with you? What things did you focus on in the preparation period that actually helped when you were in the game?
Well, first off, Coach Ray was the first man to like introduce me to the numbers, like and the analytics stuff. And I think we all know how big of a deal it is now, even in the NBA level and college. But that was like my first year seeing analytics and him breaking down my percentages and like where I'm good on the floor, because I never really cared about 3-point percentage, a field goal percentage. Like I just was playing to play, but he kind of like got me in the in the amount of thinking about numbers, and I would always worry about, well, not worry, but I would check on my percentages because I wanted to be efficient. So that's one thing I can say, to Coach Ray and the staff that year, that they introduced me to that. But it's a lot of games at the next level, plenty of games. So you can't harper on one team or one scout because you play a new team in 2 days. So it's important to kind of lock in on what you got in front of you. And usually the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to be the one to win.
Right. Fair. Adam, in terms of what you're delivering, do you spend a lot of time on film, and what kinds of things would you be putting in film? You mentioned you were doing matchup type stuff, so I would assume there would be some sort of basis there.
Yeah, we would show 2 different edits. We would show one personnel edit, and we would show one like how they play type edit with some of their main sets on it. They each were 5 minutes or less. That was Coach Ray's rule. And mine tended to be like definitely under that. Like some people on our staff would stretch that to like 7 minutes. Mine were always like in the 4 to 5 minute range.
Right.
Because again, I was big on the personnel edits. Like to me, that was way more important than like the sets. We were going to walk through the sets, but I really wanted our guys to understand who like their key guys were, and like how we were going to stop them, and how we can make some of these role players have to like do more than they're used to.
So I would assume that's mainly a lot of things that are traits. Would you be giving, like, as a for instance, if you're presenting, I don't know, whatever matchup player to AC, would you be giving only that player? Would you be giving all of the players to all of your guys? Like, what's the delivery method? And AC, how effective was it? Did you, in hindsight now, by comparison, was there anything more that you would have liked, or was it on point?
They would show personnel to every player, but when it got to the player that like I was guarding, coaches just stressed like, AC, this is you, or I would pretty much already know that, okay, this wing guy is mine. But they pretty much show every personnel, every player on the team, because switches happen, and just knowing every player on the floor. So, but they will just key into before the slide played or whatever. All right, Jamal, this is you. AC, this is you. But we will all see the entire personnel of the team.
Right. Adam, like, what's your philosophy on, one type of screen coverage versus types of screen coverages, one type of defense versus varied type of defenses, and how were you implementing those kinds of things where you were here?
Well, it really didn't matter what I believe. Like at this point, like we're running Coach Ray's system.
Right.
We tried to be that year. It was a long time ago, so I was trying to remember like how we started, and we switched stuff up. But that year we had a pretty athletic 5-man, Trey Kellum. He had really good feet, and we were like aggressively hedging ball screens, or at least like flat hedging. And we did something really unique that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I've seen it work. I've only seen Coach Ray do this, but like the big man had to be in line with the ball before he came off the ball screen. So it was almost like he was really afraid of like the turn down. So he wanted the big there to protect against the turn down. So the big had to get there like to the level of the ball, and then he had to move with the ball handler and get out for a hedge, which was hard to do, but like Trey was really good at it. We did a terrible job in this game of it. Our ball screen defense in this game is terrible, but that was like the one unique thing that I would say we did with ball screens.
That's interesting, because I have one clip that's like a side pick and roll, and I was going to ask what it was that you were. I'm wondering if maybe this kind of factors in, because there's one where there's a hedge, and then there's another where it's like, I would call it kind of like a flat and over, and I'm wondering if that's kind of what you're characterizing there. We'll take a look in a little bit. So with this specific game, from what you can remember, like we said, we're going back a little ways, going from general process to specific. What were the things that you guys had really identified, like, this is what we're going to attack? Like, was it particular players? Was it particular pace? Certain sets that you wanted to go to, give AC the ball and get out of the way, like what was it specifically?
That was always the game plan. There were a couple of things that like stick out to me. Defensively, first of all, they got like an NBA point guard, Taj McCall, who I think is with the Magic.
Yeah, he's here. I'm gonna mess with him after the Zoom too.
Oh, really? Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So the big thing was the first time we played these guys, I think it was like our first conference game back in January. I always Antonius was our best defender. AC is like what are we calling you? 6'7"?
Nah, 6'6".
6'6". He's 6'6". He's super long. He's a freak athlete. But like he also
I like that's pretty much how heights are actually determined, right? What are we gonna call you again? What are we listening to as?
Right.
What a disrespect the man to call him 6'6" if his roster says 6'7". So I was gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. No, but he also had to do like so much for us offensively. So I would try to protect him matchup wise. And we had a combo, Jamal, who was like 6 foot, 6'1", and he was like the heart and soul of the team and like a really hardworking guy. In the first matchup, I was like, okay, I want to save AC from foul trouble because he was foul prone, and I want to like keep him fresh. And I kept Jamal on Taj, and that was a mistake. Taj is 6'5" at least, and Taj is like just tore us up. And so going into this game, I was like, we're putting AC on him from the jump. Like, screw that. Sorry, AC. And he did get into foul trouble like early in the first half, but I knew like we had to put length on Taj McCall. Like we had to do that. And we had some other like role players that came off the bench, and I was like determined. Like Coach Ray didn't love these dudes, but I was determined like to put them on Taj before we put some of our shorter guys on him again.
Right.
Because I had seen that movie and it ended badly.
I've seen that movie and it didn't end well.
So there was that. And then the game before that you kind of referenced, we had just lost. So we went on a tear. We were kind of like middle of the pack all conference season. And then we won like 3 or 4 straight to close it out. We swept Murray State, which SEMO's never done. Like we were fired up. And it went to our last home game of the regular season against Austin P, who was, I think, in like 8th or 9th place. And if we had won like our last home game, we would have won the OVC West, which again, I don't think SEMO's ever done that since they went D1. So it was like a huge game. That was my scout as well. And our guys just kind of like, it felt to me as a coach on the bench that our guys just came out like super flat. And the whole 40 minutes, just like, I kept feeling like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't we why aren't we playing hard? And you know, I don't know the reasons or whatever, but I coached that whole game like mad. And I remember also like I felt like I kind of, not that I took it out on them, but we had like some really talented freshmen, and we had Denzel Mahoney, who's Creighton's leading scorer now, and like he was like we weren't going to pull him out of the game. Like he was one of our main dudes. It was like him and AC were our 1-2 punch, and we had Taj Edie, who is the starting point guard at USC this year. And Taj was really, really good, but Taj was a freshman and like figuring it out defensively. And, you know, like that wasn't always his thing, but he could really score. I remember like pulling him out of that game and going with like our backup, Jonathan Dalton, because he was like always doing, you know, like always in the right spot, super dependable, but not quite as talented. And I felt like that cost us the game. Like I felt like that like really fucked us up. Like looking back on that game, like fuck. It was really close. We had a chance to win it. We lost. I probably got too emotional and pulled out one of our main guys because like I was trying to spark us. And so I was like determined in this game, like just stay positive and let the dudes play. Like coach them, but like keep your dudes out there.
So that's great, because one of the questions I ask a lot of the time is like, you know, a lot of coaches like to do post-game reports. Some other coaches, especially if you're holding an L, they'll look back and they'll watch that film a lot and they'll be upset about it. But like we dwell as coaches. So one of the questions I like to ask often is, at what point do you go away from your game plan versus stay with your game plan? Like what's that sort of subjective line for you as a coach? And how important is feedback from your players while you're in the game? So, I mean, like if AC's coming to you like, hey, we need to do this instead of that, this isn't working any longer, how adept are you to listening and implementing change from that?
So What was the first part of your question?
The first part is like, how
like,
long are you?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, your story mentions that you were focused on staying with the guys that you're supposed to stay with. So I'm saying, how long did you stick with your game plan in scenarios where the game plan maybe wasn't working as well as it should? Like, what's sort of the fine line for you to go away and sort of throw an audible?
I mean, like, that's a good question. I don't have a great answer for it other than like, I think you got to go by feel. And I'm
Right.
big on like listening to what the guys have to say. And especially when it's like AC was a senior, super high basketball IQ, like I'm going to definitely take that into account. On the other hand, I'm not the head coach. So like, I did have a lot of freedom. I was able to do the substitutions. I was able to like call some plays, but like ultimately, like those decisions are obviously made by the
So
boss.
that was the next question. I had heard you say a few times in there you were like sort of managing substitutions. Were you doing a lot of that on field as well, or did you sort of go in with like a depth chart, knowing what you wanted to do?
Coach Ray is big on the depth chart, but like he kind of we had a great relationship. We had worked together for almost 10 years. So like he let me kind of handle the rotations, uh, and a lot of the substitution patterns. He definitely had me like handle the matchups. So it was definitely like his show, but like he would allow me to do that type of stuff, especially if it was my scout.
So AC, let me ask you, after getting this scout, playing this game, it's a few years in the future now. They say hindsight is 2020. Was there anything that was missing for you that could have made the game easier to play? Was there anything that was omitted that should have been in there?
In this game we're about to watch?
Yeah, in this particular one from the OVC tournament.
I wouldn't. I don't really know. I really don't know how to answer that. I don't really think anything was missing. I know this was a hard game because we were so defeated after that loss. So I mean, I don't know if it was hard for you, Gordo, but to get us back going. But we was defeated after that Austin P loss, man. Like I don't know how that's what made the win so big, because we knew we blew a double bye. We had a chance to get a double bye, and we knew we blew it. And to turn around and play a good team, we just was like, man, we're not supposed to be playing till Friday. This was probably, we played on Tuesday? Probably. So we're like, we're not supposed to even be playing Friday. We're supposed to be in the stands watching. So I know it's kind of hard just to get back focused to, know we had a game, but we end up locking in and getting it done. But I do remember it being hard to get back focused for this one after we just dropped one at home.
So we got a question from Mike in the chat, and I think it's directed at you, AC. It's what message or motivation do you like hearing after a hard game like that, moving forward into game day 2? So like what I know that the pros spend more time on mental preparation. What would get you going, as you said, for the next game after a tough loss like Austin P?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you gotta just, this is a coach that asked this.
Yes.
Let me go to the.
Yeah, everybody who's in this chat is a coach.
All right, good, because I got interest in coaching too. So this is like audition.
There you go.
I think you gotta do what you do after a win, after a loss. If you're gonna watch film after a win the next day, you gotta treat the loss the same way. And I mean, it's gonna be tough regardless, but you gotta show the mistakes and you gotta show what led to that loss, even if you really don't want to watch it. I've had coaches sometimes who, after a bad game once in that season, they just say, oh, look, we're not gonna watch what happened yesterday. We're gonna put it behind us and whatnot. But I think you got to just stick to, what you do, loss or win, and just really show the mistakes, show what you did good in that loss as well. And I mean, you just got to like keep your routine going. That's what I say.
Love it. Adam, in game, what sorts of things were you tracking, paying attention to? What is important to you at the half, so to speak, that's jumping off the page? Like when I go back and look at this box, you guys were pretty seriously out rebounded in this game. I don't know if maybe that stood out to you. At the half, I think you guys were down 6 is what I remember on that. So like, what are you saying to the guys? How are you implementing change? What are you doing to getting them fired up? All those kinds of fun things.
I wish I had a better answer. I really don't remember.
It's a long time ago. I recognize that.
I watched it and I took some notes, like just of what I saw in the first half, and I'm sure this was it because this is pretty much what I'd say every halftime. Like our offensive execution, like we took a lot of quick shots. We really didn't get the ball reversed. So I'm sure, I was telling the guys like move the ball, get reversals. Um, like I mentioned before, our ball screen D was really bad, especially in the first half. And we were just getting like whipped on straight line drives for whatever reason. We looked really slow footed like in the first half defensively. Um,
It's interesting to me because I mentioned to you previously, like I found this game a little bit hard to dissect. Obviously, there's no like game clock that you can see. There's no score that you can see superimposed on it. So that's a little bit tricky as an outsider. But I also found it tough because like it was pretty up and down. Like there was a pretty fast pace to this game. So maybe half a step slow I can see in the half court, but I think overall the pace of this game was pretty quick actually.
well, that was definitely like the game plan. Dana Ford's teams, like Dana Ford was the coach at Tennessee State at the time. He's at Missouri State now. They're great in the half court defensively. And so
Right.
we always wanted to regardless of our opponent, we always wanted to like push in transition, especially when you got like Antonius on the wing. But I knew like against this team for sure, like it was going to be hard if we had to like rely on our half court offense.
I think they was the best defensive team in the league. I think, Coach, right?
Yeah, for sure. And they're always like that. But that was also like they take a bunch of defensive minded tough dudes. And so like I knew that they were prone to like scoring droughts, especially because Dana liked, I don't know how he does it now, but he liked to really control it in the half court and like play a little slower pace.
Right.
So I knew like we could get them on a scoring drought. They took some bad shots too, and we could get out and run and push and score. So yeah. And then also they play like two true big men. And they have some like big, like heavy post players.
Right.
We were small as shit. Like our 5-man was 6'6". He's really a 4, but we played him at the 5 all year. AC, well, our 4-man was Denzel Mahoney, and he's 6'5". AC's 6'6", and he was on the wing. We had a 6'7" Milos, a 6'7" Serbian, who came in and gave us some minutes, and that was it. Like we had no other bigs.
Right.
So that was like, we knew like it would be hard on the glass and we'd have to gang rebound, but offensively we felt like we could really drive those guys. And Denzel went off, I think, because of that. He ended up scoring 34.
Yeah, he had a big game for sure.
Those big dudes couldn't guard him.
Antonius, just going back to the halftime question for you as a player and somebody who's looking at getting into coaching, what specifically from the coaches would you be taking that actually made sense in the locker room? I know we're going back a ways for this game, but the things that Adam says right now in terms of what he would typically say, like get second side more, get better shots, all that, how does that translate into actual like actionable items for you as a player? Like, are you just saying, yeah, coach, or, what are you thinking when they're giving you that I need to do this to implement that?
I mean, 9 times out of 10, you know what they're about to say. Because I remember that halftime. I remember Coach Gordo telling us to move the ball. And Coach Ray he told us they was punking us. They was beating us on the glass, straight line driving us. He basically and Coach Ray used to sometimes kind of yell a lot. And I remember him yelling at us, basically saying they're punking us. We got to have some, some fight and stuff like that.
Right.
But as a player, whatever the coach is saying, like, we know we were getting out rebounded. So the fact that he says that, it's not, we know he's like, we know he's not making it up, and we know what we got to do. And I feel like as a coach, there's only so much when it comes to stuff like that. You can tell your team, like, we know the game rebound, we know we need to box out. You can emphasize it, but it's not really a formula you could give your team to rebound or to just guard, or it's just like a will to something they gotta want to do, if that makes sense. It's not really any way you can put it besides like straight, you guard your yard and just rebound, box out.
Right.
Like I think it's simple.
I appreciate you saying that. The reason
I knew we had to get AC back in there. He only played like 4 minutes in the first half.
Yeah, Coach Ray.
I knew that was like, I think I was like, I don't remember how my emotions were, but the fact that we were only down 6 with AC not really playing that half, I got to think, like, looking back on it is like somewhat encouraging.
How do you feel about the 2 fouls? Because I know Coach Ray didn't play no games about that, but I just, as a player, I feel like you got to trust one of your best players. Like, all right, you got 2, like, I feel like.
Yeah, but you're going against the coaching grain here. This is crazy talk that we're talking about. It's like there's an NBA game last night where they give up basically a layup and the guy misses the layup. I'm not going to name names of any teams or anything.
Easy.
But I'm looking at it and I'm like, why are we guarding the inbounder still on this possession? That's literally the only pass that, like, and then any coach that I talk to is like, you're crazy. You have to guard the inbounder on that. You can't get away from that. And I'm like, there's no flexibility on certain things at all. Like, a player has 2 fouls, he's your better player, get him out. That's it. That's all you have to do.
That's one thing I can say. Like, Coach Ray, the whole season, 2 fouls, I'm done. And even do or die game, 2 fouls, I think I was done. So that's one thing I can say. He did stick to like what he was about as a coach, and 2 fouls, it was over. And I knew it, and I hated it, and I still would be the one to get the 2 fouls. So I really just couldn't say too much.
I was just gonna say, like, if you don't want to come off the floor, you could not commit the 2 fouls as well, right?
Definitely. I'm ready to see these fouls though.
Well, we're not going to go through the whole game. I don't think I have them identified. I'm sorry. The one thing I wanted to say that I really agree with what you said is that, like, as players, there's a whole thing about flow state and being like a good player that's like achieving excellence or whatever. And players need less feedback as they get closer to that flow state. So everything you're saying about, like, when the coaches say something, it's basically something we already know. Like, mentally, what's going on in the game when you're a player of this level, obviously, right? So it's like, it's a little bit of a reassurance, sure, but I mean, for the most part, a lot of the change has got to be on a player such as yourself, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump in. Tim Pete threw something in the chat. I know you guys have a little bit of a relationship.
Tim Pete,
like, hey man, what's going on?
Yeah. Hey, I'm here. Yeah, exactly.
What's
yeah,
up?
I know you. I don't call him AC. I call him Main when he was 5'9".
Oh
man, on the pickup court.
Tim, what it do?
How you doing, man?
I can't complain. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Blessed, man.
Yeah, Tim, I don't know if you want me to ask it for you. I mean, you're like, basically he's just saying, what was the process, the growing process of becoming a leader of the team leading into that game from being a freshman? So, like, over time, what's the process of becoming a leader for you? How do the changes get made? What gets involved? All of that.
You're asking me that? Okay. I think as a freshman, like, I came in as a freshman, I was kind of quiet. They was talking about red shirting me. I knew I wasn't red shirt though. I knew I could play, but I kind of didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't talk much, but I always did the right thing. Like, I never wanted to be the one who didn't make the time or cost the team the run, because I was a freshman. We had big seniors, and I didn't want to be the one who, mess up and whatnot. So I think to my sophomore year, I started to talk a little more. I got a year under my belt. I'm a somebody on the team, so I can say something about one, but was still fairly quiet and really just didn't talk as much, didn't really lead. I led by example. I wasn't a vocal leader. My junior year was when Coach Gordo and probably Ray challenged me to be the leader, because we only had one senior. So that's when I had to be vocal more. And I know Gordo always talking about body language. At times I had bad body language sometimes, and it was some days where I just wanted to scrimmage in practice sometimes. And Coach Gordo would tell me, man, these guys looking at you, like, all these freshmen, you got to lead. You can't have bad body language. So I would say I improved at, with my body language or whatnot, but I feel like I always kind of led by example as far as working hard and conditioning and stuff like that. In my senior year, I say I really just took on the leadership role with, we have like 4 seniors. So I think we all kind of grasped the leadership role. And I had a couple bad practices kind of when I just really didn't feel like being there or whatnot. But I think for the most part, I led by example, and I was someone I could tell the team something, and they would not second guess what I said, because I really didn't talk as much, but whatever I said was really what I felt like the team needed to do, and I could say it because I feel like I backed it up with my play and with my work ethic as well. So To answer your question, Tim, I think it was just like a building block to becoming a leader. You know, you come in as a freshman, you don't want to really mess up. And then to your junior, senior years, like being here 4 years, I know this place like the back of my hand and whatnot. And like people are just gonna like gravitate to you.
Sounds kind of similar to the process that Tim has described to me for his own experience at Tulsa. So I actually have a question for you just before we get into some.
If I could add something real quick, sorry, Mendeley.
No problem.
Yeah, just to add on, the real like progression I saw in AC was like, first of all, Rick Ray's practices. I love Coach Ray. I tell him this to his face, but his practices are boring as shit. And like there's very little scrimmaging and it's like tons of drills. And like about halfway through his senior year, AC would just like going so hard in those drills.
I didn't get that.
Oh shit.
Could you try again?
Yeah, he would start going so hard in those drills and like it just raised the intensity level. And now you got practices that used to drag and like he said, like everybody was watching him. And when he's going through like closeout drills, 100 miles an hour, now everyone gets hyped and it just raises your like habits on the court. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. I've mentioned to you previously, Adam, but like I've been one stop where my best player was my best player. And what I mean by that is like my best, most talented player was the person who brought it every day in practice, won every drill, competed all the time. I've only had experienced that one time through my coaching experience. And it's a totally different environment when something like that happens. Shout out Lindsay Shotbolt at York University when I was there on the women's side. Just a great player with that kind of desire to always compete. I'm going to jump into some film. Before I do, I have one more question for you, AC. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate your perspective. I'm always curious about this question, so I'm going to use my platform right now to ask it. How do you feel overall now as a professional athlete, looking back on your Division I experience in terms of how well or how unwell it prepared you for being a professional athlete? Were there large gaps of things that were missing? Were there, for the most part, everything was pretty succinct and to the point? Like, did it teach you how to learn or like how to learn for yourself? Like, I mean, it's a really, really broad question. So as succinct as possible, I suppose. Like, would you say overall the experience prepared you or did not prepare you for the next level?
I'll say it prepared me pretty well. I get this question a lot. I feel like the game of basketball doesn't change. Like, we guarded coverages in college certain ways. The next level, 30 different teams, 30 different styles. Some of them call it different things, but a hedge is a hedge. A blue is a ice or a push. It's all the same. So I just feel like whatever I kind of did in college, it doesn't change it. It doesn't change at the next level. It's a few rules that go into place like 3 seconds and stuff like that. But I feel like the only thing that changes is more the physical aspect to the game. Like people are stronger and it's harder to get over that screen at the next level. Guys are bigger, but as far as I feel like IQ wise, it's not gonna be anything you haven't seen before. Shooters you would see shooters you've never seen before shoot the ball like amazingly. But as far as getting over a stagger screen or chasing a screen or switching at the point of contact, not getting slipped, all of that is the same on any level in any part of the game. So I think I was prepared to go to at the next level because I kind of seen it all in college as far as coverages. I guarded a lot of positions, guarded pretty much the 1 through 5. So I was prepared to, for any kind of defensive assignment. And on the offensive end, a lot of teams kind of run the same stuff. So it's pretty much the same.
All right. So everybody see that? Are we good with that? I'm going to expand this here and just get set up. So I got about 15 clips. Do we have a question here? Is that what just happened? Right as I'm getting set up?
I'll read it out so you can set out your deal.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
From Mike DeCracker. I'm sure this is for AC. How does it mentally affect you? Doesn't have any certain edit. Wait, Mike, can you unmute yourself and ask it?
No, he said he can't talk in a private message afterwards. He's at work, I think. So it says, how does it mentally affect you? Doesn't have any certainty at a team at constant.
Yes, sorry, I have a quick second, Menelik. So
my question is like you're constantly being on the move. So how does it affect you mentally, into your emotional state and stuff like that?
It affects me because I have a family now. If I didn't have a son and a girl, it probably wouldn't affect me as much. But it's kind of tough. It's tough, but I look at it as if I don't have all my life to play the game, so I just kind of just got to take the good with the bad, and just not complain, and just try to stay focused.
Love it. All right, so we got 15 clips from the game. Just basically, what do you see? What do you like? Did you do it well? Would you do it differently? All that kind of stuff. So this one is defending of the wing ball screen. So they bring it down to the right slot, and then what I would call a show and over, and then you guys tagged from the singles. You tagged from the double side, but the guy slips in behind. So how would you do it differently? What happened? And is this the coverage you were talking about here, Adam?
You go back a little bit to the this was, I think, like one of the first plays of the game.
Yeah, it's very
And
early in the game.
it's definitely a mistake. We definitely did not do this correctly. But yeah, that is what Trey is trying to do. He's trying to be in line with the ball. Go back just a little bit.
Right. So it's actually empty side ball screen. I wasn't paying attention when I was rolling through. I'm sorry. So it's an empty side ball screen, and your man in the hole goes to tag, and that just leaves the guy in the dunker spot wide open.
Right. Right. Yeah. And they swap over there, but AC probably should be in the paint to take away that pass as well. AC or Jamal. Is there a way to go full screen?
Fake action going on.
There is. The problem with the full screen is I lose my notes, and then I have to go back and forth between them.
Okay, no worries.
So I can play it for you like this, but
yeah. So Denzel does have to tag, but we should be clogging the paint, especially because AC's guarding Taj, who's not known for like his 3-point ability. And he's
so how would you fix this in an ideal world?
Yes, like I said, well, go ahead. AC, you answer it.
I think they got their false action. They're like they interchange and just keep me and Jamal occupied and not really. So maybe Jamal can tell me just to stay high, and he kind of have a foot in the paint. And if he kicks it out, maybe X if we have to. But McCall really wasn't a knockdown shooter like that. So I'll say Jamal can get a late close on that, but he could just stay a foot in the paint to kind of discourage that pass to the dunker. But they had me and him guarding the false action, was really worked and had us occupied.
But then also like the ball screen defense itself.
Oh yeah.
Trey does a nice job like stringing it out, but our point guard Taj Edie's got to get there and make that pass a little harder. Like they just leave him at the free throw line.
Yeah, why did Trey come up when he picked it up?
Yeah, he should be back. Yeah, that's another good point.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's bad defense.
So this is one of the clips of attacking their hedge. So we get a little deeper into the clip, and you end up with a top ball screen, and it ends up 2-on-1 on the double side. You guys get a pretty good open look, but I think when I was doing this, I was just wondering sort of like what your points were of attacking the top ball screen. What are you looking for as a player type deal? I mean, so he goes out of it, and then you just hit the snap back, and 2-on-1 on that one guy who's closing out, you get a wide open look out of it. What could you do better other than hit the shot, of course? And what do you like? What do you dislike? What are the teaching points of going against a hedge? All of that.
So Coach Ray's big thing, more than anyone I've worked for, is like hit the throw behind or the snapback, like you said, or the whip pass or whatever.
Or the shake, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like good execution. This is our backup point guard that I referenced earlier, Jonathan Dalton, who is like Mr. Dependable. And so he does exactly what we want him to do there, which is why we get the 2-on-1. Obviously you want to, you would like to attack, but we do end up with a wide open 3 and a great one more. So we're happy with that.
The one more, when I was watching this, I was wondering sort of what your philosophy on it is. When he makes this one more, do you think maybe he should be shooting this, or is the one more what you're looking for and then the attack?
Are you talking about the pass from the wing to the corner, or the?
Yeah. So like when he makes this pass
Yeah.
on the 2-on-1, ultimately you end up with him shooting the ball anyways, and it seems like it's against a better closeout than it would have been if he had just shot the ball.
I'm always good with Denzel Mahoney shooting threes. I think it looked like he had an alley. I mean, it was really kind of like a show closeout. I thought he had an alley to drive it. I would have been cool with that too. But we really, really preached the one more pass.
Right.
So, like, that just was part of our DNA offensively. So I don't think any of us would ever be upset with somebody making the one more.
And then the other point I was interested in is when he makes this one more here, you're big that's ducking in underneath. Do you teach them to seal up the lane so that if he was to drive this baseline, there's an empty layup, or is that not part of your penetration principles?
We would teach him to get to the front of the rim with a baseline drive. If he already has the seal, which that's Milos, he's really like a catch and shoot guy. Like he's not sealing anybody up the lane.
I don't know why he asking for it.
Say what?
I don't even know why Milos is asking for it, because like he don't even supposed to be down there. But
Love it. Awesome. Let's move on to them attacking your hedge. So this was one of my questions that was sort of the difference in coverage. It looks like you're hedging a little bit more here than you were on the other wing ball screen. And I'm wondering what you think of the clip, what you would do differently, etc. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry. Let me run it one more time for you.
I mean, I think that's what we did this year. Like that's kind of who we were, was like we were aggressively hedging ball screens. And Milos is very athletic and would always play really hard. And so like I like that. Now it looks like there's miscommunication between him and Denzel in terms of like, are they gonna switch that? Are they gonna scissor? Or is he gonna come back to it? I think what we wanted, and I think what we taught AC, you jump in if I'm wrong, I think we would teach them to scissor that automatically. And so Denzel should be yelling like switch, and Milo should be getting back to the other big. Well, he should be dropping back to the paint and then find the other big.
Because number 4 was a shooter, if I remember. I think he could shoot it pretty good. So I think there was a scissor.
A scissor would be the same thing as like an X out.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I thought was kind of interesting about this is like as this hedge happens and 4 slips out for the shot, you guys don't bring what I would call the whole man or the most important guy to be able to tag this. You actually come from the middle. Is that part of what you guys are doing? Just because they're higher on the floor? Or so like I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. I would probably be coming from this guy. And I'm just wondering the difference because you guys are coming from here.
We tried to come from the other big as much as we could in ball screen.
Gotcha.
Situations.
Like it. So this is a real simple one. Walk up threes, yay or nay? Transition threes, yay or nay?
I mean, again, Denzel had 34 points in this game. I'm good with him doing. I mean, look, he's wide open. Go back. Like, this is what we were talking about. He's got the 6'10", big clunker 5-man guarding him. Denzel's a wing. I'm cool with him shooting that. I don't know if Coach Ray was cool with it, but like, I'm a little bit more like, I want the guys to be aggressive and comfortable. I don't know. What do you think, AC?
For you, is that personnel based, or are you
no, definitely personnel based?
And is that basically won in practice, like the right to do so, or is that done over time? I ask this question on every show. Like for me, I'm okay with it. I want as many threes in a game as possible. I want as many transition threes as possible, but it's still also personnel based for me.
I think it's earned in games. It's earned by production. Like, again, these are either our leading scorer or second leading scorer. And so, like, yeah, that's cool. We're cool with that. If that was, like Daniel Simmons shooting it, who, like, in this particular season wasn't like an established, like, offensive force on our team, it would be like, no, that's not that's not you. But
That's not you. We're gonna politely remind you that's not you. And you, AC, are you as a player on the floor? Are you okay with another teammate shooting this, or is it for you also a personnel thing? Like there's certain guys that you're like, yeah, he can shoot that, and other guys are like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Denzel could do whatever he want. Any shot he took, I really wouldn't mind. But as far as anyone else, I think it's like timing. Like, do we really need this shot? Have you just hit one in a row? Like, is it kind of a heat check? I'm more lenient with that probably than coach, but definitely I feel like it's still personnel.
Nice. This one I found interesting. This was a horn set, and you guys snaked it against their drop, and then the quality of the shot I was going to ask about. But do you typically teach snaking against a horns set?
we would drill snaking quite a bit. It wasn't necessarily like horn set or not. It's just something that we drilled all the time with like how to attack ball screen Ds. The
So when
spacing isn't really great here.
So usually in a horn set, like there's multiple variations, obviously, but one of the more common ones is one guy dives, one guy pops.
Mhm.
When the person is snaking, would you teach the person who's diving to hold their screen a bit longer, to roll in behind, to curve their roll? What sort of like teaching points were there for this? I found this one really interesting because I don't really see the snake implemented often against a horn set.
Yeah, I don't remember what we would teach them. Do you remember AC? Like what we teach the bigs to do? We didn't teach them to hold the roll. Like Coach Ray was
No,
big on, like get there, get to the front of the rim.
yeah, I think the snake just kind of happened natural. Like as I screen and someone with snake, it's like you don't want to run your point guard over, so it's kind of like a natural thing. It was never just okay, snake this or anything like that.
Right. Okay. Like it. We got an ice coverage on the next one, I think, is what my note says. Let's take a look at it. So they come to the left slot, and you guys were about to ice, excuse me, and their big changes the angle, and then they have to rescreen, and he manages to get middle. So when you're icing, obviously, usually the teaching point is don't let them get middle. What I found interesting about this is they only have one player on what is now about to become the strong side of the floor. He gets a back cut. He blows the dunk. But I'm wondering where you guys would help from typically and sort of what your teaching points were when utilizing the ice.
AC, you said you're going to mess with Taj after this, right?
Yeah.
There's a blown dunk right there. This is like a crucial part of the game too. So your question was, where's our help coming from?
It would be
Yeah.
me, I think, right?
Yeah, it would be Daniel.
Okay.
It'd be number 23 right there at the elbow.
Oh, so you guys would be coming from here. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, AC would zone up. Or, we trust them to talk to each other, but
I think either or, it's an X if Ty decides to hit that corner, and it's like a scramble situation. Then, like if Daniel decided to go and Taj kicked it to the corner, I would have to X out. Or if I went and he kicked it, Daniel would have to X to the corner. It'd be like a scramble.
Interesting. So really it's a communication piece more than anything on that. You guys have got to be talking all the way through.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you ice it if they were going towards the double side? Mike is asking.
so we
Yeah.
really
So in this scenario, you were going to a two-side action, and you would ice them going to the two side, and now you're letting them go over to the single side, which created this backdoor action.
Yeah, we really didn't ice things with this team. I don't think, did we, AC?
Not as much.
Yeah, we didn't really ice. I think the only reason this kind of went to an ice, our rule was like these flat ball screens in the middle of the floor. We would try to send it one way. So in this instance, it ended up being like an ice. We'd force them left every time.
You're really just trying to weak it more than ice it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Because
I
basically
think
now
that
the two
is something we worked on.
Yeah, the two guys in the middle. So I cannot see the numbers because I'm watching it on my phone. Like they are both, they are like forming a 3-man line. So they're disregarding um, nobody, so to say. If I'm seeing it from my point of view, like you should X out, for example, with the guy on the wing who can take the back door over, and the guy defending the screen can take over the wing, or vice versa.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this is not good. We should have, our eyes should be more in the paint than it should be on the complete weak side once he gets off this ball screen.
I find this very interesting that you guys would come from your wing. Like, that's definitely not where I would have been teaching. Like, I don't think I would ice towards the double side personally either, but like, I find that interesting that you would come from here instead of from here. Is that just trying to preserve a certain matchup somewhere, or is that distance shorter? And I think most important guy for most people is usually the lowest guy on the floor.
Yeah, we would just try to get that high chip, and then he'd pass them along to the next guy. So it may not be like a full on X out from 23 there, but it
Right.
would be like, a contact chip, and then pass them off to AC, or, like AC said, we give them the freedom to like stay with that dive and send AC up to zone up the 2.
Nice. I'll move on. There's a 2-2-1 that they put in. This is late in the game. They hadn't really shown it either. They only do it for about 3 possessions. You're getting pretty close to where so for anybody who's listening, SEMO wasn't really able to pull ahead for most of the game, but they were within range. And then there's a couple big possessions where they go up, and then it's just sort of like tying and changing the lead type deal. But right here, they've decided to throw in a 2-2-1. It's not very aggressive, in my opinion. They're just sort of backing up on stuff. But I'm wondering, what do you guys teach in terms of beating it? And did this make your scout? Did you anticipate that they were going to throw it in if they started getting in trouble or started wanting to turn you over? And that being said, when you saw it, did you now feel like, all right, we've got a game because they've decided that they want to go to this at this point?
Yeah, I don't remember. But in terms of what we teach, go back a little bit, right before he throws the ball up the sideline. So we definitely teach our guards to like attack. So what Taj is doing right now with like that unaggressive dribble, I'm sure he's just setting up our press break, but like that's not typically what we want. We want them to make the press have to guard us. So what
Right.
Jamal does up here is great. We want to attack up the sideline either with the dribble or the pass, ideally with the pass. So AC's in the middle, which is perfect. Jamal has it. Trey Kellum, our 5-man, is going to break out, the bald-headed guy in the back. And Denzel should, when this ball gets passed up the sideline, he should go to the ball side block. Right. If he got there and AC kind of hold at the free throw line, you got a 2-on-1 there at the rim, which we would, have a lot of success against.
And then there's a second half of this clip where I think basically my question was just, after you guys defeat the press and you're in the half court, if you don't get something immediately out of it, are there staples that you guys like to go to, or are you just trying to find the best advantage and go at it? So like you guys end up with a step up, pass to the corner, and a long 3 off of the shot fake dribble.
Yeah, we didn't have we would flow into our motion, and that's what we did here. And it looked like they might have been in zone.
It looked like a 3-2 to me briefly.
Yeah, but
Coach Gordon, I don't want to cut y'all off, but I gotta get out of here and head out. But I want to thank y'all. This was definitely dope. I never did this before, and I'm definitely down to do this again, Gordo, whenever. So
good seeing you.
To have you another time. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
When do you guys play next? AC,
we're gonna play it like February the 12th against that Jalen Green G League team. It should be on like ESPNU as well. So I'll let you know probably next week is what just to double check with you.
Make sure you guys check him out. He's with the Blue.
Love it.
Appreciate
Good
it.
seeing you, AC.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome.
So
yeah, just you said basically you flow into your emotion. I'll move to the next clip. We got a Spain pick and roll type deal in here. Does it make your scout? How do you want to defend it ultimately?
Yeah, this is one of those things that this was one of their like change ups where they would go to this a lot late game, or like if their offense wasn't working, they would go to this. So we did go through it, and we would treat it with one big, acting as the hedger and the other one kind of taking on the dive.
It was a massive block shot. What I found interesting about this Spain pick and roll was the spacing of their two guys. Like, so for me, I always call them the nail and the dive. Their dive is not facing the rim, first of all, but it almost looks like they want to switch it into like a double screen up top afterwards. Like they're on top of each other, basically.
Yeah. I don't know that that was their thing. I think they were trying to pop him for the three and the duck in. I don't think they usually go into that double ball stream, but I could be wrong. I don't remember. But yeah, it was definitely something that they did quite a bit. And that was one thing that I gave our team in the walkthrough was like how to guard that.
He got out just before.
Obviously, I didn't do a good job.
No, obviously you did. You guys came out with the win. He got out just before the clip I wanted to show. So for anybody listening, they're pressing again, but then Antonius actually ends up with the three that changes the rhythm of the game, in my opinion, when you're watching it. So there's some reversals. There's a step up, he gets it back, and he pulls it. And then this three, if I'm not mistaken, puts you guys up one, I think I saw in the box or the play-by-play. And then from there, it's just kind of a battle at this point moving forward. But it's sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say. The floodgates opened at that point. I put that clip in just for him, and he just missed it.
Well, that was Edie that hit the three.
Oh, was it?
Antonius assisted the bucket.
I apologize then. It's a good thing he's not here. We've got hedging on a horn set. This was another one that I thought was interesting. Trying to get up over top, and something that you would typically have done.
Yeah.
Specific or?
Yeah, we had a lot of success with that. Again, this is a very unique like Rick Ray thing to me. I don't know, maybe other people do this, but he gave, especially Trey, our big man who had really good feet, he gave him the freedom to, like, if he could anticipate a screen coming, just go out and hedge it before the screen even gets there. And we really, like, that was the key to us beating Murray State both times that year, was that ball screen defense. And I wish we had gotten to it more in this game, but it really causes people a lot of problems. I think because they're anticipating like coming off the screen and then having to deal with the hedge. And I think it catches some guards off balance and fucks up their timing a little bit with, when to roll and things like that.
Yeah, he's actually not even on the other side of the screen. He's just before you get to the screen, out there blowing it up like a trap almost.
Yeah.
And then what are the rotations in the back for you guys typically? Like I see he recovers to the rim.
Yeah, well, this is perfect. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. So if you go back, like AC is covering the big down low, which is great. He takes on the dive. He's sitting on his, he's fronting him. Jamal is there. So they're in an eye. And again, this was one of those things that like Coach Ray left up to their communication. Whoever can get there first calls it and takes it. And then the other guy will take whoever's next.
Love it.
He wanted guys to be aggressive. If there were two guys going to that, like he would live with that aggressive mistake of two guys trying to go with the pass out.
Right. One more one. I think this one was just a bit of a mess rotation wise, and I wanted to hear what you see and how you would clean it up type deal. Let me take a look here. This is pretty late in the game. We end up with just basically it looks like it was about to be a pass and follow. They reject. And then you guys help from the big that would be at the opposite elbow. And nobody really helps. The helper ends up with a shot at the rim here. So I'm just wondering.
So obviously, as you know, like it's really hard to defend when you're just giving up straight line drives.
Yeah.
No resistance. But this was a scouting report thing. They're running that wheel motion that you see Virginia run a lot. And so the way that we defended that this year, which we had a lot of success with, is we'd call it monster, we would monster off of the big setting the flare. And so that's why Trey Kellum is right in the middle of the paint there, because he's there to clean up anything. So in this situation, this is a scouting report thing where the help is coming. There should obviously be more people in the paint and covering this dive, but it just happened that we just got whipped. And so it happened so fast that nobody was able to get a hand in there. And that's one of those things, again, that's Taj Edey, great player, starting point guard at USC. And that's the type of stuff you would sometimes give up his freshman year. But like, again, in this game, I was determined not to pull him for that stuff and stick with him, because he gave us so much offensively that I just felt like, hey, we're living and dying with our best players.
Would
I don't know if
you
that's right or wrong, but that's how I felt this game.
would you even say something in a huddle, or would you wait till
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm telling him, like, definitely coaching him up. I'm just
Right.
not taking him out of the game.
Right. We got in
How do
overtime.
you guys feel about that? You guys think that's the right thing to do or not?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. And anybody else jump in too. Sorry. I know I monopolized the conversation a little bit there. But I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think there's just different ways of approaching it. So for some people, they've got a short leash and they pull them out. For me personally, a lot of the time, I think it's like, if it's like a risk reward analysis. If the reward outweighs the risk of a particular player, I'm going to leave them and I'm going to let them play through their mistakes. And that is really earned by how they've performed up to that point in both practice and games throughout the season. So like at this point, which is basically like your first playoff game, I think you have a pretty good feel of who can do what, who's the better benefit for you, and you got to live with their mistakes. Anybody else have something to offer on that?
I agree. I agree with Menelik on that. I think it just depends on also the player, and seniority.
I would agree. Sorry, Adam, we're just a little bit over the hour. I've got 4 more clips. You good? Can we get through them?
Yeah, let's do them.
Yeah, awesome. This one is overtime transition stuff, getting back on D. So I think you probably got fouled on that, but they bust out and just basically straight line drive to the rim type deal. And it's a fairly important part of the game for you guys. So what do you, other than having an eye twitch and possibly an aneurysm, what are you doing as a coach? How are you cleaning it up? What are you saying to your guys?
Yeah, well, like, bad shots lead to like fast break opportunities, right? And block shots count as bad shots.
Right.
Foul or no foul. So if you go back a little bit, this is another unique thing that we did. Like, we tried to jam the ball. So again, not to pick on Taj, again, this was his freshman year. He's going to be a pro next year, so he's doing fine. But like, his job is to like really, like, I don't know why he's backing up and backpedaling and spinning. Like, he does a good job being there with the point guard right there. Like,
Yeah.
That's where we want him. And now we want to like have him stay in front of the guard, try to turn him once or twice. But he kind of gives up on the jam and like retreats. And now Jamal makes a mistake, obviously. Number 12, the guy in the paint, like, he leaves the wide open big. I don't know if he's worried because 14's like their knockdown shooter, but obviously you can't give up a freaking layup here. So he should be in the paint. He should be telling AC, like, get mine over there on the wing. They got 2 shooters on that side, so it would put him in a bind, but it's better than a layup.
This was huge 3 by them. This is, if I'm not mistaken, in overtime, and I think it puts them up 1 or 2. I can't remember.
Yeah, so at this point we're switching ball screens, and we did this. We went small quite a bit. We're really small here. Like, AC is our biggest guy on the court, who's a 6'6" 2 guard. And we switched that ball screen. That's their 6'10" guy with our 6-foot combo guarding them. So, I mean, obviously when you know you've got that like little of a size advantage, you should really press up into them.
Right.
That's a deep fucking 3 too. Like,
it is. And that's a big guy shooting it. Like
6'10" guy. Yeah, exactly. So like, you wish he was more aggressive and up in his shit, but like, fuck, it's a good shot.
What I find interesting is this next clip is immediately after, no timeout called. Why? Like, I think you have one left, if I'm not mistaken. I could be incorrect because you can't see a scoreboard anywhere. But did you guys work on a lot of end of game stuff? Did you know that you were going to push if they made?
No, like, well, first of all, I think you've got the advantage to not call a timeout. I think if you can catch them sleeping or just like scrambled, it's advantage offense. So I think it's the right call by Coach Ray. We never worked on late game situations as much as like we would beg to work on it. But this is just Jonathan Dalton, our backup point guard, who like we had in the game for that reason because we trusted him. And like he just makes a really heads up play by pushing, and he does a great job by pushing and gets the ball to the middle of the court, and he finds Taj open, and that's the reason I kept his ass in the game.
Good call, Coach.
He can do that. So yeah, that was the game winner right there. That three that they had hit on the other end tied it.
Okay, right.
And so this three won the game for us.
And then this, they go ATO. They have one last play. What are you sort of telling your guys in the huddle, like other than obviously don't foul?
Yeah, don't foul. Make them catch it in front of you. They tried to draw the charge there. That was heady. Milos actually, we probably didn't talk to him about it, but Milos did a great job avoiding that charge. I've lost games on that. Yeah, and don't let anyone get, Coach Ray's a big football guy, and he always gives them the like, don't, like you're like a safety. Don't let anyone get behind you. So make them catch it in front of you. And I don't know how much time is left, but it looks like not enough time because the horn went off right away.
Love it. We got one question in here, I think. TP, glad to have you, man. Enjoy practice. So I typically wind them all down the same. I will wind it down in a similar fashion. First of all, Adam, really appreciate you taking your time, sit down, do this with us. It's great to hear your perspective on some coaching stuff, because I know you so much more in the professional realm of networking and meeting other coaches and being an inspiration to people. Glad to know you know some X's and O's and can talk the game still. It's been a little while since you've been out for sure. That being said, Rising Coaches, huge support, huge thank you. Really, really appreciate what you guys do and the coaching tree that you've created and the connections that I've made throughout. And on a personal note, like I know I've sent it to you in text, et cetera, before, but just, like pandemic, and I've said it on these shows too, the pandemic, we were pretty locked down in Canada. We haven't coached in a very long time up here. So your website, was a tremendous help in terms of throughout the summer, especially when you guys had a lot of content going on. Met a lot of really incredible people. So as like a personal note, thank you. Really appreciate that. It means a lot. And then, beyond that, thank you to all the coaches who take their time, jump on, listen, share, want to get better, the ones that are in the show and are willing to present as well. Thank you to them. Next week, so this will come out, I believe February 19th. So the week after, the immediate series after, we'll have Brian Shea, who's a New York City high school coach and a Rising Coach member, actually. And just, tune in. Thank you for watching. Appreciate. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Menelik, and thanks for everybody for being on the Zoom and tuning in. It was fun to talk hoops and not networking for once.
Appreciate you. I'm going to stop the recording. Adam, if you want to chill for a little bit, usually some of the coaches like to talk for a little bit afterwards.
Sure.
Up to you.
Yeah.